Hey everyone, welcome to Bible 365. I'm your host, Kathy Carter, and I am bringing you Luke 21 today. So Luke 21 is my primary focus is going to be today in Luke 21 is going to be like the full submission and giving of yourself. And it's really talking about the widow, how she has just these two, I'm just going to call them pennies, these two little pennies to give. And what does it look like if you only have 2 pennies in your pocket and you pull those 2 pennies out and you give them to the house of the Lord? What are we looking at in our lives? How are we to be that person? And what does that mean sort of in the realm of the end times and what's to come? So stick with me and I will see you guys in a minute. Hey, welcome to Bible 365. I am your host, Kathy Carter, and this channel is here to kind of merge Bible living with Bible literacy. So we are going to be using the New Testament this year in order to understand what it's like to live as a follower of Christ. I have a link below in the description that I have a download that will bring you to a chronological Bible reading of the New Testament. So what I want you to do is read every day and join me and hopefully some friends as we talk about what it means to live as a kingdom builder. Let's get started. Hey, so we are in Luke 21. And so today we are coming sort of to the end of Jesus's ministry. And so we've gotten to this place where Jesus has been preaching and teaching all over the nation of Israel. He has let them know, and I don't even want to say in so many words, because he's literally let them know, which is why the Israelites are so mad, some of the Pharisees are so mad, that he is the one that is to come, right? He's the one that's been promised through everything they have learned over the past thousands of years. He's the one that is fulfilling all of those things that God talked about over centuries, right? And he is also letting them know that he is the Son of God. And what he means, and again, I'm going to say they knew what he meant. What he meant is he is God. And what I think is really interesting is we see the Pharisees, I think, have even in some ways even a greater understanding of this than even his followers do. Like, I think his followers are like, wow, he's a great teacher. He's the Messiah. We love him. We want to follow him. He's inspiring. He's exciting. He's letting us know that God accepts us. The Pharisees were like, he's butting up against everything and everything that we've ever been taught, right? Everything we've ever learned, all the laws essentially that we've put in place. And he's pushing up against all of those things. He's inviting people in that we don't believe God would have invited in. And then he's kind of like messing with some of the rules. And then he's saying he's the one that's allowed to do this. And so I think that they kind of even had an intellectual understanding of Jesus that maybe even his disciples didn't have, right? And we always talk about this. We always talk about like, and I say we, I mean a lot of us in the Christian community, because I would call myself a really emotional believer. Like, I believed intellectually, and then I just got so excited, like the Lord saved me from so many things. Like, first he saved my marriage, and then when I sort of had all of these, I did all of these horrible things as a Christian, I called out to Jesus, and he saved me from that too, and allowed me to repent from those things that I had done and turn back to him, and know that he didn't think I was so far gone that I couldn't be with him again. And so for me, it's a really emotional experience, right? Like, being with Jesus is really emotional. And I know with a lot of people, they're very intellectual people, right? They have such an amazing knowledge, and they list out all the things of which they know that Jesus is. And I think that this is the beauty of looking at the people that we kind of see interact with him. We have all of that mix of people. And so what all of us, in whatever way that we learn or believe or have faith or whatever it is, we all need to come to the understanding of Jesus and and not just settle where we are, but dig into a deeper understanding of him, which, this is why I'm here doing this like video diary kind of thing. So this is where he is, and going all the way back to 3 minutes in, that this is where he is in his ministry, right? He has been teaching and preaching and loving and offering kind of sanctuary to people who have been deemed unlovable and unforgivable in a lot of things. He's allowed them to receive grace and then turn towards him. So what do we see is we don't see that they're receiving grace and then turning back into their sins. They're receiving grace and then they're following him. Very literally, by the way, because God always does this. He always, on earth, he has like this picture of these spiritual ideals and things. And so they're actually following Jesus on earth. They're hearing everything he's saying and they're walking with their feet anywhere that he goes and doing the things that he does. And so this is what he wants to see of his people. Now he's coming sort of to the end of his ministry. And this is where you can really see him pushing up against the Pharisees. And I genuinely think he's pushing up so hard against them because he knows the time is coming and he knows that some of them are going to persecute him and they're going to convict him and they're going to punish him unto death. And so I think that he's pushing hard against them in order to get whoever is willing to choose to follow Jesus that next and that second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth opportunity in which to follow him. And so yesterday we kind of finished off in this area where he was pushing back against the questions of the scribes, all the leaders of Israel. So the scribes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, they were asking him things and he was kind of turning everything around on them. And then we come up to something that is going to be really, really important. So all of that saying, 5 minutes in, here we go in Luke 21. It says, he looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts into the treasury, and he saw a poor widow putting in 2 small copper coins. And now I'm going to go with this whole entire thing that I just said to you. The rich, being the Pharisees or the leaders of Israel, they're putting in what is it, abundance. Like they're not giving of themselves. They have all of this. And so they're giving this little tiny percentage of themselves. So maybe like these people are like, well, we're asking Jesus questions, but we're not really listening, right? Like we're participating, we're following him, but we're not really giving of ourselves. And then we see this poor widow. And a widow, as I've probably told you on a bazillion videos, a widow was somebody then that could not care for herself. That is true a little bit today, but definitely not as much then. So she was not really able to support herself in any manner that she would have been able to live in a prosperous way unless she was living with a son or unless she was living with like a brother, right? Somebody that was willing to completely take care of her. Usually she was taken care of by the temple, like by the people of what we would call the church. And so she has nothing to give, or, these tiny little things to give, and she's giving all of that. So the sinners are giving everything. The sinners are saying, I have nothing. I have nothing left to give you. I'm not good. I don't listen. I didn't repent. I didn't follow the law. I'm consistently breaking the law against my people. I'm not good in the community. I'm ostracized. I'm unclean. And yet I'm going to give you every little bit of what I have. What I have, I'm going to turn towards you and offer all of myself to you. And my vessel is awful. I'm not like going back to that parable of the Pharisee versus the tax collector, right? Tax collector is like, oh, thank you, Lord, that I'm not like him, that I haven't broken the law and I haven't stolen from people and I'm not as bad as that and I'm not a scoundrel and I'm not a drinker and I'm not, right? He's not actually any of those things. So I don't even want to take away. I don't want to be like, well, he is. Secretly, he's doing those things. Secretly, he might be doing none of those things. He might be genuinely following all of the laws. And the tax collector is breaking a ton of them. That is quite literally true. But the tax collector is giving all of himself. Here, the poor widow is giving all of herself. And this just comes to you, right? Like who are you? Okay, so look at yourself. Me, look at myself. Who am I? I've done some good things and I've done some bad things, right? I can recognize that. Like I am definitely a person that took risks that were not good for me, that messed with people and things that I shouldn't have. And so for me, when Jesus says to me, I accept you and I love you, he says, I'm a little more willing to give because I'm like, I don't know how many people are going to accept me. And so like, I want to be loved and accepted by the creator of the universe, right? But then I get to a point in my life and I am the Pharisee and life looks pretty good. I have started to follow the rules. I remember a time in my Christian life where I was like, yeah, I broke a lot of rules, but that was before I was a Christian. Now I'm married. Now I have kids. Like, I can't really go out very much. And I just didn't have, like, we cycle through all of these stages in our life. And so like, I really thought I was good. And so then I didn't need to give because I was kind of good. And I guess I had already given enough that like God was just going to bless me. And I think it's inevitable that we find ourselves in that place. But I think the ultimate reality is we should always come to the table as the poor widow, because the reality is no matter how good, how righteous we can be here on earth, and we can be righteous. I want to be like, we can be. We all, like, especially a non-Christian will say like, I don't want to follow Christianity because I have a really, really good friend that does this thing that God doesn't like. And so so let's just throw it out there. Like, I have a really good friend that doesn't believe in God. And so you're telling me that my friend is going to hell. She's going to hell because she doesn't believe in God, but she's like a super, super good person. The ultimate reality is we can be righteous in the sight of neighbors. We can be righteous in the sight of our family. We can follow lots and lots of social community rules that are really, really good. We will never, never be on par with Jesus. We will never be a perfect, sinless being. No one will walk away leaving everyone around them unscathed. So in other words, if I'm going to go with the smallest example, I might cut someone off in the road because I didn't necessarily recognize that they were there. I cut someone off in the road. Somebody behind me is cursing me out as a horrible person. I may bring somebody the wrong food and they said, didn't they listen to me? I said I was allergic to such and such. And she brought me, she's not a good listener. She's not a good friend. She's sinned against me, right? Like there are people in my life that have been hurt purposely and inadvertently, and no matter what I'm trying to do. And so therefore we fall short, and this is a Christian expression, we fall short of the glory of the Lord. And so we should always recognize if we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, we should always recognize that I am the poor widow. And because I am the poor widow, I need to give Jesus all that I am, because I am not worthy of anything that he has given me. I don't hold back that $5 because I'm pretty good and I deserve that $5. I give Jesus all of me. And I think he's got this story in here. So he gives the story and then he follows up about all that is to come. So he gives the story because we are constantly supposed to be fully giving ourselves to the Lord. And if we are fully giving ourselves to the Lord at all times, we are remembering that all that we have belongs to him. All that we have, we owe to him because of what he's given us. If we have ourselves in that sort of like submission kind of manner, well then when the end comes, we're ready. We're ready for the end because we've submitted fully, even if we don't know what it looks like. And once again, I'm going to state that we're not going to know what it looks like. So they question him. So right after this, we see this poor widow, which we're kind of like, this is out in the middle of nowhere, but it's not. We see this poor widow. She gives everything she has. And then it says, the days are going to come where there's not going to be one stone upon another, which will not be torn down. So he's saying the temple, the things, as you know, are going to go away. You are used to this. You are comfortable with this. This is consistent. Listen, we're living in a United States right now that is so divided because some people want it to look this way and some people want it to look that way, because we find comfort in the things of this world, right? We find comfort, whether it be the jobs that we have, whether it be the education system that we love, whether it be the programs that are given, whether it be that we feel comfortable with more government or we feel comfortable with less government. We have this safety net that we desire here on earth. And Jesus is like, it's all going to be torn down. Depend on none of this. None of this is your home, is your kingdom, right? What is your kingdom is what's coming. How do we know what's coming? And so he says, they question him saying, teacher, when therefore will these things happen? And so he starts listing these things. And what he's saying is because they're like, show us a sign. We need to see a sign. We need to understand when these things are coming. And he's like, listen, you don't get to know these things. Wars are going to happen. People are going to die. Floods are going to happen. The world is going to fall apart. There's going to be hurricanes and tornadoes and all kinds of crazy stuff. And you know what? That's not even a sign. That's not even what you're looking for. He said here, now it looks like these are some of the signs that we're looking for. Before these things, they're going to lay their hands on you and they're going to persecute you. So the people that are following him currently are going to be persecuted. That's something to look for. Did those things happen as we know it now? Yes, they did. So we know, like, one sign, check. One of these things has been fulfilled. It says it's going to bring you before the kings and the governors for my name's sake. And it's going to give you an opportunity to show them essentially who I am. And that is what they do. They hold fast to Jesus. They're willing to die for Jesus. And this is how this book that we're reading now, this is how this gets out and among the world, because they were willing to do all of these things that Jesus had called. They didn't even understand what he was saying. They didn't know what was coming. You know, he's saying all these things, but these are like prophecies that eventually come through, but they didn't understand. But when it happened, now we know that these things have happened. So we know kind of like we're in those end stages of these signs of the times. And he said, make up your minds beforehand to defend yourselves, because I'm going to give you utterance and wisdom. But you will be betrayed even by all of these people around you. Your endurance, you're going to gain your lives. So again, I'm going to say we saw this with a lot of the followers, the people that followed Jesus. And then he says, and when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, so here's another sign. You're going to see Jerusalem surrounded by armies. Now, I'm going to say we did see this, but maybe we will see this again, right? There was a time, I think it was 70 AD, Jerusalem was surrounded by armies and the walls all came tumbling down, right? The walls came crashing down and they were overtaken. And so we have seen that. And again, I'm going to say, maybe in a way we can say, check, this thing has happened as well. And then it said there's going to be signs, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the earth. There's going to be dismay among the nations. Maybe we're seeing that now, but I kind of think we've always saw that. And it said, in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves, men fainting from fear and expectations of the things which are coming. The earth is going to look insane, right? And again, could we say that that might be currently happening? Like earthquakes where they didn't have them. There's tornadoes where we never had them before. There's tidal waves, massive tidal waves, and they're not coming really regular. They're coming in a grander scale. Maybe that's happening. I'm not going to say it is. I'm definitely not an end timeser, so I'm not going to say that is. But I'm just saying it's things to look for. And then the Son of Man is going to come down on a cloud. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see him riding on a cloud out of the sky. God has always come in a cloud. So God, during the time of Exodus, he was in a cloud and in fire. Up in the mountain, he was up there in a cloud. So this is how we've always seen, this has always been sort of a revelation of God, is he's coming in a cloud. Could be very literal. It could be a little bit more figurative that he's coming in. And again, not necessarily that we're going to know for sure that it is him coming in. And then he tells this parable of a fig tree, and he says, behold the fig tree and all of its trees, and all the trees, as soon as they put forth leaves, you see it and know for yourselves that summer is now near. And the idea is going back to this woman who's giving everything of herself. When the time has come, we're going to see the time has come. right? We're going to know because it's going to be the season. And then we're going to start to have an understanding. It's just like when Jesus came the first time. He came and all of a sudden people started going, oh, this is the Messiah. This is who we're looking for. And all these words started spreading about him coming. And the world started, that area of the world started to change. I believe it's going to be much the same now, that we're going to start to, there's going to be an understanding and we're going to go, oh, it's the season, right? I can see that the leaves are here. The time is starting to come. And so this is the season where Jesus is going to be here. And he said, be on guard that your hearts will not be weighted down with dissipation and drunkenness. So be more like the widow. Don't be in this place where you're not living a life that is honoring to the Lord, right? Be aware. And the idea of drunkenness and dissipation, right? When you're in that place, your brain is not where it's supposed to be. So your focus is more on, you lose sight of the things that are important. Like just think if you have ever been drunk before, and I'm sure none of my listeners have ever been drunk before. But when you are, so coming from personal experience, when you are, you really lose some inhibitions, you lose some, you lose clarity. So you don't really see and understand what's around you, which is why no one ever wants you driving after you have a couple of drinks, because you don't really see distance the same. You don't see people the same. You don't hear conversations the same. You're unaware of your surroundings, right? If you were to be walking down an alley and you're completely inebriated, the chances of you getting attacked are much greater if you're walking and you're completely aware of the situation. And this is, again, I'm going to say it could be very literal, like don't be drunk all the time, but it could be very figurative and understanding, like we need to be sober of mind in order to understand what it is that's coming and to be aware that it is here. And then he follows up and he says, but keep alert at all times, praying that you may have the strength to escape all these things that are about to take place and to stand before the Son of Man. So being in a prayer that maybe you won't be here when all of these things start to come, right? That you will be so strong in the Lord that there's a chance that you won't be here. And again, I'm not even going to go into what that looks like for end times, premillennial, postmillennial, amillennial, whatever. I'm not going into any of those things, but there's a chance, because he says to pray for it, there's a chance that for whatever reason, you might be able to escape some of this time that's here to come. Doesn't mean that you're guaranteed. It just means that there's a possibility. And it said, then he was teaching in the temple day and night, and then all the people would get up early in the morning to come to him in the temple to listen to him. And so that's where I'm ending for today, you guys. If you found it to be a blessing, that's all of Luke 21. So if you found this to be a blessing, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I want you to keep reading into Luke 22, and I'll see you guys next time.